The throne of God has never been empty, and it has never been silent. Around it stand the mightiest archangels, blazing like fire, radiant like lightning, sworn to guard the very heart of eternity. Before time was counted, before kingdoms rose or fell, there was a court of light where Michael, Gabriel, and the Seraphim circled the throne with unshakable loyalty. But hidden within that circle was also Lucifer, the most beautiful, the most gifted, until pride consumed him, and his rebellion shattered heaven's harmony. Why did God choose these guardians to protect his throne? What secrets are locked inside the vision of Ezekiel, where wheels of fire and creatures with many wings encircled the glory? Why does Revelation describe lightning, thunder, and living beings crying out, "Holy, holy, holy," without ceasing? Could it be that the throne is more than a symbol, that it is the center of judgment, mercy, and cosmic warfare? In this journey, you will discover how Michael became the captain of heaven's armies, how Gabriel's words carried the power to change history, how the cherubim and seraphim burn unceasingly with holy fire, and how the fall of Lucifer warns us of the danger of pride before glory. You will see why the throne of God is not only the seat of divine authority, but also the battlefield of heaven, where loyalty and rebellion divide eternity itself. And now I ask you, do you believe the archangels still guard the throne even in this very moment? Or has the war that began in heaven already shifted into our world? Share your thoughts below. I want to hear how you see this mystery. If this vision awakens something deep in your soul, don't forget to like and subscribe, because together we are going to uncover truths that have been hidden for centuries. The throne of God in Scripture. When the prophets tried to describe the throne of God, their words shook like thunder under the weight of what they saw. Ezekiel spoke of a chariot of fire, wheels within wheels flashing with eyes, and living creatures with wings covering their bodies, forever proclaiming the holiness of the Almighty. John, in Revelation, was caught up into heaven and saw lightning, voices, and a sea of glass before the throne, surrounded by 24 elders and burning lamps of fire. These visions are not meant to be distant poetry. They are reminders that the throne is the heartbeat of the universe, the place where judgment and mercy flow like rivers. Imagine standing there, overwhelmed by sound and light, realizing that everything you ever feared or longed for is measured from this center. And yet this throne is not guarded by walls of stone or iron, but by living beings of fire and spirit, guardians who reflect both the glory and the seriousness of God's authority. In this image, we learn a lesson. God's authority is never fragile, but his glory is so weighty that it demands reverence. Just as the prophets fell on their faces, so must we learn humility before the one who reigns above all. Michael the Archangel, the commander of heaven's army. Among those who stand closest to the throne, Michael shines as the warrior of heaven. Scripture paints him not as a gentle figure, but as the leader of armies, the one who stood against the dragon and cast Satan from the heavens. He is not a symbol of violence, but of divine courage, a reminder that evil does not fall by accident. It is confronted by holy strength. When we read of Michael, we see what it means to protect what is sacred, to fight for truth, even when darkness rises like a flood. Think of moments in your own life when you were pressed on every side, temptations pulling at your soul, fears whispering that you are too weak. The presence of Michael teaches us that God never leaves his throne undefended, and he never leaves your heart without protection. His example is an invitation to stand firm, to resist compromise, to see yourself as a soldier of light, even when the battle feels overwhelming. Comment below. Do you see Michael as only a figure of ancient visions, or do you feel his presence still moving in the unseen battles of today? His story challenges us not only to admire, but to imitate, to protect what God has placed in our care, whether it is our family, our faith, or our calling. Gabriel, the messenger of the throne. If Michael guards with strength, Gabriel transforms with words. It was Gabriel who appeared to Daniel with visions of kingdoms, Gabriel who announced to Zechariah the birth of John, and Gabriel who stood before Mary with the most powerful message ever spoken, that the Son of God would take flesh and dwell among us. His authority is not drawn from a sword, but from a voice that carries the will of God himself. Imagine the courage it takes to deliver words that will change the course of history, words that no one has ever heard before. Gabriel's presence reminds us that divine messages often arrive in moments of quiet obedience. He is a symbol of clarity in a world of noise, of truth breaking through confusion. We all carry echoes of Gabriel when we choose words that heal instead of wound, when we speak hope into despair, when we remind someone that their life has meaning beyond their pain. The throne is not only defended by warriors, but also declared by messengers, and Gabriel shows us that speech can be as mighty as a sword. Think about the last time your words shifted someone's heart. Do you realize that in that moment you mirrored the ministry of Gabriel? His story calls us to guard our tongues and use them for life, not destruction. And as we move forward, we see that even beyond Michael's courage and Gabriel's message, there are beings who exist solely to burn with unending worship, and their fire lights the throne with eternal praise. The mysterious Seraphim and Cherubim. When the prophet Isaiah lifted his eyes to heaven, he saw the Seraphim, beings of fire whose very name means the burning ones. They did not whisper, they thundered, crying out, "Holy, holy, holy," until the temple shook. 6 wings covered them, 2 to fly, 2 to veil their faces from the unbearable light of God's glory, and 2 to cover their feet in humility. Imagine that. Being so pure, they shine like lightning, yet even they cannot look directly upon the throne. The cherubim, too, were not the gentle, childlike figures we often see in art, but mighty guardians with multiple faces and wings, stationed to guard the tree of life after Eden was closed. Their image was carved upon the Ark of the Covenant, overshadowing the mercy seat where God's presence dwelt. These visions are not distant myths. They reveal a truth we forget in daily life. Holiness is not casual, and access to God is guarded by fire. Think about how easily we treat sacred things lightly, our prayers rushed, our hearts distracted. The seraphim and cherubim remind us that heaven does not play with glory. Their lesson is one of reverence, that in the presence of true holiness, we bow, we cover, we listen. Do you believe we have lost this sense of awe? Comment below, because the way we view holiness shapes the way we live, and the seraphim's eternal cry calls us back to trembling wonder. Lucifer, the fallen guardian of the throne. Long before humanity drew its first breath, there was another who stood at the throne. Ezekiel calls him the anointed cherub, radiant with precious stones, walking among the fiery stones of God's presence. Lucifer was not a stranger to glory. He reflected it. He was beauty perfected, wisdom unparalleled. But inside his heart, pride was born. Instead of bowing before the throne, he desired to sit upon it. Instead of reflecting God's light, he wanted to outshine it. And with that desire, the brightest guardian became the darkest enemy. His fall was not a random tragedy, but a warning woven into eternity. The closer one stands to the throne, the greater the danger of forgetting who gives the light. When we read about Lucifer's rebellion, we see more than ancient history. We see our own temptations, the pride that whispers in our achievements, the envy that poisons our joy. His story tells us that rebellion begins not with open war, but with a silent shift of the heart. How many times have we felt the same pull to take credit for what we were only reflecting? The fall of Lucifer is a mirror showing that glory without humility destroys itself. And yet, even in his downfall, the throne remained unshaken, guarded by those who chose loyalty over pride. This is a healing truth. Evil may rage, but it cannot dethrone God. The heavenly court, a divine council around the throne. Revelation describes 24 elders clothed in white, seated on thrones encircling God's throne, casting their crowns before him in worship. Psalm 82 speaks of a divine council where God stands among the mighty and passes judgment. These glimpses show us that heaven is not a lonely monarchy but a kingdom of order, a court where loyalty and reverence are displayed by those closest to the king. The throne is surrounded not by silence but by song, not by emptiness but by witnesses. And this vision carries a powerful message for us. No one walks alone before God. Even in heaven, the image is community, fellowship, and unity in worship. For us on earth, this means faith was never meant to be lived in isolation. Just as the elders cast their crowns, we too are called to lay down our pride, to live as part of a body greater than ourselves. Think about how often we try to carry life alone, refusing help, guarding our crowns as if they belong to us. The heavenly court teaches us that the true act of greatness is surrender, that the crowns we cling to are only safe when placed back at the feet of the one who gave them. Perhaps the most healing lesson here is that God has designed even heaven to echo community. So why should we fight our battles on earth alone? Share your thoughts. Do you see the church today reflecting this heavenly court? Or have we drifted from that vision? But this question leads us naturally to the next revelation, where the throne is not only guarded and worshipped, but one day unveiled to all, when the great judgment comes and every soul will face the glory that the angels have never ceased to adore. Lessons for us. Protecting God's presence. Today, when we read of the throne guarded by angels of fire, we are not meant to stand at a distance as spectators. We are invited to see that same throne reflected within our own hearts. The archangels protect the eternal seat of glory, but here on earth, the presence of God rests within every believer, and that presence demands guarding with equal seriousness. Michael's courage becomes a call for us to defend our families, our integrity, and our faith when temptation rises like a storm. Gabriel's voice reminds us that the words we choose either protect or wound, either carry life or spread death. The Seraphim's unending fire reminds us that worship is not an occasional act, but a posture of living flame, guarding the sacred space within us. Too often we allow distractions, bitterness, or secret sins to creep into that holy ground. Think of how you feel after scrolling endlessly through noise that leaves you empty. It is like allowing thieves to approach the temple. Protecting God's presence means saying no to what drains us, and yes to what fills us with light. In practical terms, it means waking with prayer before the flood of the day. It means lifting songs when your heart feels heavy. It means choosing truth even when lies would be easier. Comment below. What is one way you guard the throne of your heart? This is not only a question, it is an act of reflection, for the strength of heaven is mirrored when we live with reverence on earth. And as we turn our gaze forward, the vision intensifies, because the throne we guard privately will one day blaze publicly before every nation. The coming judgment. When the throne is revealed to all, Revelation speaks of a great white throne before which heaven and earth flee, leaving nothing hidden. It is the moment when every crown, every secret, every act of loyalty or rebellion will be weighed in the light that no shadow can resist. The archangels who once fought in the unseen realms will stand as witnesses, and the voices that once cried, "Holy, holy, holy," will thunder over all creation. This is not meant to terrify, but to awaken. Because if the throne is real in eternity, then every choice we make today ripples into forever. Imagine standing there, with the weight of your story laid bare, and realizing that mercy had been offered to you every single day of your life. Think of the moments when you chose kindness instead of cruelty, truth instead of deceit. Those choices will not be forgotten. But also consider the moments of pride, like Lucifer's, where you reached for glory instead of surrender. Those too are seen. The coming judgment is not about crushing us, but about restoring justice, about unveiling the harmony heaven has always sung. It tells us that evil will not have the final word, and that every tear carried by the faithful will be answered with the voice of God Himself. The vision is both sobering and healing, because it reminds us that our lives are not small or meaningless. They are part of a story that will one day stand before the throne of eternity. And as this truth unfolds, it prepares us for the final reflection, where we gather every image, the fire, the angels, the voices, and learn not only what they reveal about God, but what they demand of us here and now. The throne of God is not a distant legend carved in old scripture. It is the blazing center of eternity, the heartbeat of heaven, and the source of every breath you and I take. Around it, the mightiest archangels, Michael with his sword of fire, Gabriel with his voice of destiny, the Seraphim and Cherubim burning like living flames, stand as eternal witnesses to the holiness that no eye can fully see. Yet the story of the throne is not just about them, it is about us. Because the same God who reigns in thunder and lightning, who sits above the sea of glass, has chosen to dwell within your heart. The mystery is not only cosmic, it is deeply personal. The angels guard the heavenly seat, but you are called to guard the sanctuary of your soul with the same passion, the same reverence, the same fire. Think about Michael, casting down the dragon. His courage is not a story trapped in Revelation, it is a challenge to you today. Where in your life must you rise as a warrior of faith, protecting what is holy against the lies that seek to steal it? Think about Gabriel, speaking words that shaped salvation history. His message is a reminder that your voice carries life, and that every word you speak can either build a throne for God in someone's heart or tear it down. Think about the seraphim crying, "Holy, holy, holy." They remind you that worship is not a song you sing once a week, it is the fire of your daily living. And think about Lucifer, the fallen guardian. His tragedy is a warning that pride always corrupts, that glory belongs to God alone, and that we lose ourselves when we try to seize what was never ours to hold. Every image of the throne calls us to a choice. Will we be like the elders, laying down our crowns in surrender, or will we cling to them until they burn our hands? Will we join the angels in reverence, or will we echo Lucifer's pride in silence? These are not abstract questions. They are the questions of your daily life, hidden in the way you treat your family, the way you use your time, the way you choose truth over compromise. And this is where the story becomes healing, because the throne of God is not guarded by fear, but by love. The fire that surrounds it is not meant to destroy you, but to refine you. The angels do not shout, "Holy," to terrify. They shout to remind creation that it is loved by a God who is pure beyond imagination. Picture yourself standing before that throne, not at the end of time, not on some distant day, but now. Imagine the light touching your face, the sound of countless voices shaking the heavens, the archangels surrounding you like a shield of living fire. Feel what it means to be seen, fully and without disguise, and yet still invited closer. That is the miracle. The throne is terrifying in its glory, but tender in its welcome. It calls you not to run in fear, but to bow in awe, and in that bowing you find freedom, you find healing, you find the peace the world cannot give. And maybe you feel today like your life is far from that holy fire. Maybe your heart feels cold, heavy, distracted, wounded. But the story of the throne is also the story of hope. Because if God can guard eternity with angels who never tire, he can guard your weary soul until it burns again. If Michael can defeat the dragon, then you too can rise above the voices that tell you you are not enough. If Gabriel can announce a child born in a forgotten town, then even your smallest acts of faith can carry eternal weight. If the seraphim can sing for ages without ceasing, then your whispered prayers, offered in weakness, are part of that eternal song. And if Lucifer could fall from the heights of glory, then you can learn the humility that keeps you safe, the humility that lifts you higher than pride ever could. This is why the vision of the throne is not just a revelation of heaven, it is a call to action on earth. Guard your soul as the archangels guard eternity. Live with reverence as the seraphim burn with worship. Speak life as Gabriel carried messages of hope. Fight with courage as Michael stands with his sword. And above all, never forget the lesson written in Lucifer's fall, that pride destroys, but surrender heals. Now I want to leave you with a question, one that might stir debate, one that might challenge you to reflect deeply. Do you believe the angels still stand around the throne today, actively guarding and shaping the unseen battles of our world? Or do you believe their roles have already shifted to us, the children of God, carrying that responsibility on earth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this question shapes how we live, how we fight, how we worship. If this vision has touched your heart, if the story of the throne of God and the archangels has brought light into a dark place for you, I invite you to walk with me further. Like and subscribe, not just as a click, but as a commitment to journey deeper into mysteries that can transform your soul. And if you feel this video has brought value to your spirit, if it has helped you see beyond the noise of the world into the fire of eternity, I invite you to support this work with a little of your energy. Every small gesture, every act of encouragement is fuel that allows me to continue creating, to keep sharing the words of Scripture, to keep uncovering the truths that have been hidden for too long. And know this, Whatever you give, whether it is a comment, a share, a prayer, or a simple moment of your attention, it is priceless to me. Thank you with all my heart for being here, for listening, for opening your soul to this vision. The throne of God is eternal, but so is the impact of a life surrendered to its light. Walk away from this not only inspired, but transformed. Carry the fire of Michael's courage, Gabriel's truth, the Seraphim's worship, and let it shine in your daily choices. Because one day, when the great throne is revealed to all, you will not stand as a stranger. You will stand as one who has already bowed in love, one who has already lived with reverence, one who has already joined the eternal song. And that, my friend, is the victory written for you since the beginning of time.